Imagine getting jump scared with a multi-million-dollar mansion, because that's precisely what just dropped into our boy Lee's lap. At just 20 years old, bro just hit the jackpot, now officially rich, but the mansion comes with a secret living inside. This sprawling estate wasn't just old, it was an architectural anomaly, designed for a time when two families coexisted without the basic human right of a wall. Lee's family was part of this chaotic cohabitation, but the real drama unfolded years ago when his mom, a true queen, caught his dad in 4K. Picture this. His dad mid-attack session with his jumbo Costco hotdog with no toppings in the absolute wrong room with the wrong mom. It was a defining moment so profound, his mom's HP bar plummeted faster than a free-to-play player against a giant whale. But being a certified real one, she wasn't about to simp, so she initiated the ultimate divorce arc. Tragically, her existence glitched out, causing Lee's spirit to awaken with a burning desire for vengeance against his dad, the ultimate NPC in his tragic backstory. Fast forward to the present. Lee's phone buzzed with an incoming call from the paternal unit, a voice he hadn't heard in over a decade. The news? His last parental figure had collectively gone AFK permanently, but as a consolation prize, he officially inherited the mansion. Naturally, Lee speedran his move-in, purely to afford more Robux for his Roblox drip, because let's be real, his brain rot was legendary. Anyways, upon entering, a sus vibe immediately hit him. Every surface was spotless, leaving freshly spawned energy instead of the expected dust bunnies and cobwebs. And after a brief system reboot, he swore he heard a sound, a phantom noise that triggered his internal sussy meter. Logic screamed, no one should be here. Yet the air was thick with mystery. Regardless, elevating to the second floor, he found nothing, instantly chalking it up to his own delulu. But then his gaze locked onto the windows and a wave of pure cringe washed over him. This was it. The infamous caught in 4K spot where his dad's ultimate Riz killer move had been activated in the past. Suddenly, the phantom sounds returned, louder this time, so he pinpointed it to just beyond the glass. Lee, activating his stealth build, rounded the corner, but what unfolded before him was unexpected content. Two girls, one blonde, one brunette, engaged in some truly unhinged, possibly CrossFit-inspired bed-onkadong flashing antics. They, however, remained blissfully unaware of his peak-level sneak. So he froze a complete sussy baka, low-key vibing to the show. He even caught their names, Hyuri the blonde and Mary the brunette. Eventually, Neri mid-flex spun around, her processing power lagging like dial-up internet. Her fear mechanic finally kicked in, manifesting as an ear-splitting shriek. Hyuri, not to be outdone, joined in, their combined vocal ultimate skill piercing the very fabric of reality. In a blink and you'll miss it move, Nari seemingly teleported, reappearing with a green foam stick, channeling her inner anime moves to launch a series of powerful attacks. Nari, meanwhile, was in full panic mode, clumsily trying to find her phone to call 911. Our boy, however, was not about to get clapped into a pancake. He deployed his ultimate defense, gaslighting. "Brew, are you the burglars? This is my house," he declared, flipping the script with such confidence it paused their attack animations. Eventually, their fear turned into pure rage instead. They launched into a furious debate, claiming they were the rightful owners, saying they signed a lease with a pretty middle-aged woman. But now stuck in a real-life Spider-Man pointing meme, Lee's brain finally connected the dots. A pretty middle-aged woman? He immediately dialed his aunt, the OG matchmaker who'd somehow convinced his dad to transfer the estate to him. Turns out his aunt, a certified real G, had pulled a power move. She'd arranged for 3 other girls to live there, deeming the mansion too vast for a solo dude. The silver lining? All their rent money would now direct deposit into his account, funding his brain rot for years to come. Nevertheless, the misunderstanding unraveled. His aunt, ever the chaotic good, casually dropped that she'd been trying to reach the girls for a week to inform them of the new living arrangement, but they coasted her calls. With the plot holes filled, the girls, mortified, profusely apologized before dispersing into their designated rooms, their embarrassment levels off the charts. After making it inside their new base of operations, Hyuri nonchalantly deactivated her daytime armor and issued a new quest to Nari to contact their missing party member named Yuri. The objective was simple: inform Yuri that the server now had a 4th player. Nari, looking like a confused NPC, asked why, but Hyuri reminded her of Yuri's notorious debuff, a tendency to overindulge in potions, leading her to accidentally wander into the wrong rooms, namely Lee's new room. Regardless, despite Nari spamming her call button, Yuri's phone remained unresponsive, as if she were AFK in another dimension. Low-key, just drop her a text. Hyuri sighed, confident Yuri would be logging off from work soon. Meanwhile, in his new room, Lee was being chilling, busy ranting about his privacy. How was a man supposed to live, laugh, and love when his room had the open-door policy of a 24-hour convenience store? He told himself to get curtains as soon as possible since being able to see the entire house from his bed was an awkward design flaw. Later that evening, Lee was deep in a power nap, attempting to recharge his social battery where he was awoken by what sounded like rumbling gas, but a sleepy brain check dismissed it as a dream. He rolled over, seeking the sweet embrace of slumber once more, but he realized another player was in his bed, and this one's defensive stats were literally at zero, their armor nowhere in sight. As he rebooted from his sleepy state, Lee's brain cells did a frantic scramble. It was the third girl, and instead of panicking like a normal person, a mischievous glint appeared in his eye. He decided to run a quick diagnostic, gently prodding her double Krispy Kreme donuts to test its squishiness factor. After a brief training arc in the art of poking, he chose not to activate his full sussy baka mode. Nevertheless, noting her resemblance to the other two girls, he concluded she must be part of their guild and decided a strategic retreat was in order. Unfortunately, just as he initiated his escape sequence, Yuri's subconscious activated a grapple move, instinctively clinging to his arm. With the bed pushed against the wall, he was cornered, his exit route blocked. Yuri, like a persistent slime from a JRPG, inched closer, causing an unforeseen variable in Lee's secret domain to begin powering up. Unable to move without triggering a boss battle, an unfortunate collision of his fully powered-up domain expansion finally jolted Yuri awake. Her eyes snapped open, a strange man in her bed. Her brain, running on dial-up speeds, finally connected. Without wasting time, she went full-on panic mode, grabbing scattered pieces of rope from Lee's unpacked belongings and fashioning a makeshift weapon. She swung wildly, trying to fend off the intruder, while Lee attempted to spam the "it's a misunderstanding" dialogue option. In her haste, however, Yuri forgot a key piece of character data. She was a level 10 girl trying to fight a level 50 male warrior. Lee, having had enough of this side quest, pulled an Uno reverse card, easily disarming her and demanding she listen carefully. Nonetheless, the commotion had triggered a raid alert throughout the house. Hayari and Nari burst in, expecting a thief, only to find a far more compromising cutscene. There was Lee hovering over Yuri, looking like the undisputed supreme leader of the Sussy Nation. While frozen from being caught in 4K, Nari's face was a mask of fury, while Hayari just looked like her software had crashed. But the three girls unleashed a verbal and physical combo attack, ready to blast Lee off like Team Rocket blasting off again. Then the plot twist. Yuri, finally processing the earlier text messages, realized she was the one who had invaded his territory, causing the mood to shift instantly. In a move of ultimate regret, all three girls dropped to their knees in perfect synchronization, begging for forgiveness. After all, he was the landlord Kun now. He held the power to kick them from the mansion and keep their deposit at the same time. But deep down beneath the grumpy exterior, Lee was no villain. He forgave them, sending them away with a stern warning, though no one could deny he was secretly pleased with the earlier soft pillow engagement. The next morning, Lee's plans to sleep in were shattered by what sounded like intense beat saber music blasting outside his window. Grumpy and sleep-deprived, he stormed out to find Yuri, vibing by herself. He was about to unleash his ultimate attack, but Yuri hit him with a critical apology, her sincerity disarming him, completely allowing her to play her final card. "Since you're free, would you like to get lunch with me?" With Lee refusing to utter a single word, Yuri decided it was time to deploy the ultimate persuasion jutsu, so she struck a flawless K-pop heart-cheek pose to convince him to join her for lunch. The main quest objective: jjajangmyeon, the legendary black bean noodles, her treat, and even though the dish was his absolute favorite, a culinary S-tier item, Bro still hesitated. Seeing Lee stuck in a loading screen, she sweetened the deal, adding tangsuyuk, sweet and sour pork, to the party invite. His combo attack was a critical hit as his stomach rumbled a battle cry, and Lee knew he couldn't refuse. Trying to salvage his last remaining crumb of coolness, he muttered a "sure, why not?" all while wrestling his inner demons who were already doing a victory dance. At lunch, just as Lee was about to devour the entire meal, Yuri dropped a lore bomb. All the beautiful ladies at the table were her sisters. Quickly, a wave of social anxiety washed over him, especially when the four took turns introducing themselves like it was the first day of elementary school. Luckily, Nari broke the spell, asking if he was going to pull a villain move and raise the rent. Lee, channeling his inner sass, retorted that he would only consider it if another incident occurred, a comment that left Nari momentarily stunned and checked. After the meal, Lee retreated to his room, determined to be a productive human and begin his unpacking his moving boxes. As he slaved away, moving boxes like a man possessed, his gamer senses tingled. Faint voices from the alley below pulled him to the window. Their two NPCs were engaged in a live-action event, and a few seconds of observation turned into pure shock as the random homeboy started pulling off what could only be described as cultured anime-style combo moves out in the open. He proceeded to thrash his girlfriend's armored chest plate before unleashing a dual-wielding special on her twin turbos. After that flurry, he shifted targets and aimed for the final dungeon's hidden treasure cove, and throughout this entire spectacle, Lee was physically unable to blink, his sussy beka mind and scholarly curiosity having completely seized control of his motor functions. But just as he thought the episode was reaching its finale, the mysterious dude unequipped the girl's diamond plate leg armor while simultaneously deleting his own character's plate legs from existence. Lee gasped. Not wanting his masterclass of culture to end, he covered his mouth with both hands like a true gentleman, utterly baffled that a couple would premiere their new season right outside his window. As the action continued, his inner demons caused his own Taco Bell burrito to grow to its full, unsubsidized size. It was at this precise moment that Yuri, executing a perfect gank, appeared at his door. Panicked that she might think of him as a certified sussy warlock, Lee swiftly alt-tabbed from the window scene, yanking the curtain shut. He turned to greet her, completely forgetting that his bean burrito was now fully unsheathed and on his tray. But it turned out Yuri had interrupted his power level increase simply to ask if he wanted chicken and drinks for dinner. Distracted and flustered, Lee harshly rejected her offer since he could hear the strange noises from the alley continuing, and his only goal was to prevent her from investigating. Her face fell, a critical debuff of sadness applied so as she turned to leave, her own special edition Whoppers with cheese dangling from behind, a wave of guilt washed over him. He messed up, so he instantly reloaded his last save, calling out, "Wait, let's eat together." This time it was just Yuri and no other sisters. The difficulty had been cranked to nightmare mode. Lee, a man with 0 points allocated to his Riz stat, had no idea how to handle a one-on-one encounter, but Yuri urged him to drink, noticing he barely touched his can. In reality, bro was a Pepsi main and had never consumed anything else since Pepsi is the best. Nevertheless, after chugging a few, the potion unlocked a hidden dialogue tree where he began spilling his entire life's lore dump, culminating in the story of his late mother. Yuri, listening intently, told him that life would be okay, and claimed that the best way to help him is to replace his bad memories with good ones inside this house. Suddenly, she moved in for a hug, closing the distance until his face was alarmingly close to her. Well-appointed character model. "You're such a good boy," she happily mentioned. She told him that even though he was awkward, he could practice with her. As such, his training arc had officially begun. "I'm sure you'll get a girlfriend in university," she assured him, seeing his confidence bar at a critical low. "Babe," she said, initiating the simulation. "Let's start your training." Yuri had just begun cosplaying to help him level up. So Yuri continued her drama queen acting, wasting no time asking Lee for comfort. "It's been a tough day," she whined whilst her yard sprinklers decided to go full hydro pump right next to him. She also began telling a story about some random dude asking for her number on the street, being a total creep, so it looks like she's really deep into her fake girlfriend act. Suddenly, Yuri took his arm and, with the precision of a master assassin, accidentally lodged it between the Mount Everest in front of him. Bro instantly felt 20 years of pent-up energy, suppressed like a seal demon lord, threatening to unleash. To add insult to injury, she even had the audacity to hold his trembling hand since Bro cannot believe his eyes. Regardless, Lee, realizing he might need to invest in new drip if this continued, decided it was time for his first ever non-family related hug. He channeled his inner Chad, a feat that surprised even him, but Yuri, clearly taken aback by this sudden burst of main character energy, pulled away. Her eyes practically disappeared into thin anime-style lines of flustered surprise. An awkward silence, thick enough to cut with a katana, descended. Lee braced himself, wondering if he'd just failed a crucial vibe check, but Yuri looked up, her gaze piercing his soul like a Sharingan user. At this point, our boy, who had dedicated way too many hours to cultured anime, recognized the signs. This was it, his canon event, so he went for the power move, aiming for that perfect shoujo manga kiss. Unfortunately, this was his first rodeo, so he somehow managed to bonk Yuri square on the forehead, leaving a sizable bruise instead of landing a perfect hit. In that instant, instead of a concussion, they both snapped back to reality, where Yuri burst into hysterical laughter, clutching her stomach like she just witnessed something straight out of a comedy. Nonetheless, just when Bro thought he fumbled the bag, Yuri moved towards him like some kind of hidden boss mechanic, slowly activating. Suddenly, in a blink, she teleported directly on top of him, landing a swift peck ability before disappearing faster than Sesu Uchiha after a family reunion. Yuri's unexpected attack left Lee feeling fully charged, and in his dazed state, he accidentally overstepped, inadvertently uncovering Yuri's secret treasures. But she quickly lectured him, explaining that going full D1 goon mode without warning was a surefire way to get ghosted. As such, Bro profusely apologized, claiming his emotions had gone full Titan shifter, transforming him into the very sus MCs he loved watching late at night. However, amidst his apologies for activating his unawakened forbidden abilities, Yuri noticed his special weapon was shining through where he'd been trying to hide it. She gave him a knowing look and smirked, saying, "Looks like you need a proper training arc this time, bro." Honestly, bro should have hit up the gacha machine because his luck was bussin'. Here he was, ready for a 1v1 duel that would have never happened if he didn't show up to the mansion. But after a moment of hesitation, Yuri urged him on, telling him to find his confidence, so after taking a deep breath, bro powered up. He began his attack turn like he's the Shadow Monarch ready to clap. A minute into their intense training battle, Yuri took the lead, forcing Lee into a defensive stance. She was the alpha, the true Giga-Chad, unleashing powerful S-tier attacks. They could barely hold on, his energy threatening to burst forth like a broken dam. In the end, it was too much. He accidentally unleashed all of his stored energy thanks to Yuri activating her total water absorption jutsu, allowing her to successfully soak up every single water-based attack he sent barreling her way. But just when Yuri thought Lee was tapped out, our boy surprised her. He powered up again within seconds like he was the actual son of Goku. Round 2, he mentally declared. This time, he decided to summon the Fire Nation to aid him, and after a heated second battle, they both decided to call it a day since the other girls might start to think something was up with Yuri disappearing for so long. So as Yuri headed back to her room, she paused, turning back to him. "This is top secret, okay? Don't tell my sisters," she whispered, making their mission top secret. As such, Lee was left standing there like a true menace as he couldn't help but wonder if this top-secret mission would become a recurring event, since this single encounter had given him more experience points than he's ever had in his life. The next morning, he woke up later than usual, sporting a monstrous headache. His body, clearly not used to unleashing everything it had saved up, needed major recovery, so he stumbled outside for some much-needed fresh air. After checking the shared balcony and confirming no one was around, Lee paused to soak in the kind of golden sunlight most gamers only dream of after grinding a new game release. As he tried to manifest his headache away, a suspicious noise from the adjacent room jolted him, but before he could process what was happening, his eyes accidentally collided with Nari, who was missing a crucial piece of her upgraded armor. When the two finally realized what was going on, Nari let out a shriek that could shatter glass, instantly making Lee into an accidental sussy baka. His inner sussy, previously dormant, activated so he couldn't help himself by feigning disinterest, where he attempted a subtle, popping swing peek from across the room. Unfortunately for our boy, the first thing he saw was a fully equipped Nari, busy charging at him with the wrath of 1,000 forgotten white knights. "Sussy Becca, you totally went to the balcony hoping this would happen, didn't you?" she accused, her voice hitting peak Karen energy. Lee, however, was not about to be caught lacking. "Hold up, Nari. You're the one with the weird habit of not equipping armor. Maybe if you have a problem with me using my shared balcony, then maybe you should find a new place to stay since I'm the owner now." With a huff that could inflate a bouncy castle, Nari, clearly losing this battle, stormed back inside, though not before tossing a surprisingly polite "just be careful, okay?" over her shoulder. Lee, still bristling, went back to his own-designated area, his frustration levels hitting peak boss fight difficulty. Back in his own domain, Lee started hearing faint cries for help, like a low HP mob begging for mercy. He couldn't pinpoint the source, but soon the house began to rumble with earth-shattering thuds where it sounded less like a house and more like a kaiju preparing for a world-ending slam. Upon entering one of the rooms, he found the culprit, Hayari, engaged in an epic deadlift session in what was unmistakably a home gym. She was pushing her physical limits with the dedication of an Instagram model, clearly chasing those sweet, sweet gains. After slamming down her weights with a triumphant grunt that echoed through the house, Hayari approached Lee. "Wanna lift, bro? Mit some gains," she said. Lee stared bewildered. "Wait, when did this room become a gym? I thought this was just a storage closet for all my unplayed Steam games." Hayari let out a knowing chuckle. "Nah, fam. It was a storeroom, but there was just a fake wall dividing it. And I totally ripped it down when I moved in, so now it's just one big flex space." As such, Lee was speechless. The sheer Sigma grinset energy of Hayari turning a storeroom into a gym by herself was next level. But Hayari, being the true homie she was, just shrugged. "Anyway, if you want to learn how to lift, I can teach you anytime." But bro's inner simp momentarily considered the offer. Fast forward to just before midnight, Lee was violently ripped from a nightmare about his 744 trillion honeysuckle being stolen on Roblox Grow a Garden. He peered out the window and saw a shadowy figure standing outside, prompting an unmanly shriek that vaguely sounded like a distressed anime girl, making him think the backrooms were real. But after a solid 5 minutes of hiding under his covers, Lee finally found some courage and crept towards the figure. It was Nari, looking utterly disheveled, as if she just fought a mob of sleep demons, but as he got closer to ask what in the actual heck she was doing at this hour, he realized her eyes were closed, so she was full-on sleepwalking. He poked her. Nothing. He poked her again. But this time, Neri began to topple over like a poorly rendered NPC. Lee lunged, barely catching her before she face-planted, but then, as if on cue, her armor began to rip, unable to handle the sudden, uneven weight distribution. Within seconds, it was shredded to ribbons, leaving Lee utterly dumbfounded, where he can already hearing the accusations of the sussy owner striking again. So he froze, contemplating his imminent cancellation, but Neri didn't move or make a sound. Worried that her HP bar might be at 0, he tried shaking her awake, only to discover Nari was the deepest sleeper in the multiverse. Thinking quickly, Lee activated his max-level blacksmithing skill, repairing her armor's durability with the efficiency of a seasoned MO crafter. That noticing a nasty bruise on her knee, he, like a true gentleman, mended it before she could awaken. Finally finished with his impromptu repair job, he tried to carry her back to her side of the house, but she was surprisingly heavy for the twig. Defeated, Lee sighed and just dragged her, gently of course, into his own room. The next morning hit Nari like a jump scare, stretching luxuriously. She told herself that it was the best sleep she's ever had since it's been years she's felt this good. So she practically ascended from the mattress, only to land with a soft thud on something squishy yet suspiciously bone-filled, causing her eyes to snap open, and below her, like a startled Pokemon, was Lee. A high-pitched shriek echoed through the house, and Hyeri, ever the loyal sister, burst onto the scene. "Nari, what in the world is happening? Where are you?" she screamed. But the commotion led her straight into Lee's room, where she knocked once. Then, without waiting for an invite, she walked in, and lo and behold, Nari was standing over a bewildered Lee mid-rant. "Nari, chill. This is like Lee's personal space. You can't just be out here giving him the full care and treatment," Hyeri reasoned, trying to de-escalate the situation. After hearing this was Lee's room, a wave of instant cringe washed over her as she realized she'd sleepwalked. She said, profusely apologizing again, practically dissolving into a pile of apologies. Lee, looking thoroughly furious, just gave her a stern warning, probably wishing he had server mute Discord button in real life right now. Anyways, Nari, still flustered, retreated to her room, but then, like a boomerang, she was back, busy wondering what happened to her outfit from last night. Lee, clearly not wanting to tell the truth about the night, pulled an Oscar-worthy performance, turning his back dramatically before yelling out how he's had enough. Successfully changing topics, he whipped out a new set of house rules, freshly printed like surprise patch notes, detailing that jumping to conclusions and entering other people's rooms without an invite are not allowed, or else they'll get fined 50,000. Neri was mad, but to make things fair, she added the third rule of no peeking through windows so both parties could agree to the new terms. With the new rules officially set in stone, Neri stormed off with Hyeri following behind, heading back to their own domain. Slumping onto her bed, Neri felt a twinge in her knee. Wait, what's this? A small band-aid gleamed on her kneecap. Just then, Hyeri handed Nari her broken armor set from the previous night. "Oh yeah, Lee told me he saved you from falling, but your armor got wrecked in the process." Suddenly, Nari realized that Lee is actually a legend for going above and beyond for her, so a wave of guilt washed over her for being such a hater since he arrived. Later that evening, Yuri stumbled upon the freshly posted rules sign. Her eyes widened, causing her to immediately demand to know what happened while she was at work. After hearing what happened, she immediately turned back around and told Nari to grow up, blaming her for what happened and orders her to stay inside whilst she apologizes on her behalf. As such, Nari spent about 10 minutes in a contemplation spiral, weighing her options. Should I apologize? Is it cringe? But before she could fully spiral, she dragged Hyeri along, completely forgetting Yuri's 30-minute lockdown order. Nonetheless, as they stealthily approached Lee's section of the house, Nari froze. Through the windows, she saw Yuri, her dignified, cool older sister, apologizing to Lee in the most sussy way imaginable. This caused her to instantly backtrack, pulling Hyeri with her before her innocent eyes could witness the forbidden knowledge. Desperate to distract Hyeri from entering the scene, she decides to bribe her with her favorite soup-known food as her way to her heart. Curiosity, however, was a stronger magnet than rice cakes, so Neri sent Hyeri on the soup quest with her credit card, while she stayed behind, busy wanting to spy. Then, from her vantage point, she watched the unfolding drama, her brain buffering with wild theories. Why was Yuri, of all people, falling for this skinny dude since it made 0 sense? A flashback triggered. Yuri, moments before her apology, had noticed something peculiar. Lee's beanstalk seemed to have hit the rain growth buff, causing it to grow so massive it practically occupied 2 gardens, glowing with a rainbow fruit worth quadrillions. "Okay, this calls for another practice duel," Yuri had declared, eyes glinting. Lee, ever the cautious one, was worried that her sisters might catch them. Before he could finish, Yuri initiated their battle sequence. Nari, still lurking in the background, was completely stun-locked by her older sister's secret pro moves she's been hiding all this time.